Good morning, everyone. My name is Tina Parrish, and this is Functional Movement. And we are going to focus on shoulders. This is an advanced shoulders class. So the first half of the class we spend on mobility. It's really deep stretching while we're strengthening. We'll be doing the spine, we'll be doing the hips. And then we move on to the second half of the class into sets, more strength training sets that again, focus on shoulders because shoulders is the focus today. So there are things with the shoulders that you can do that I can show you, and then I show you how to do progressions. And at any point, you don't have to take any of those progressions. Like I said, this is an advanced class. So make sure you're comfortable with where you're at. You need weights, preferably you need a band. And then also a pillow is a great object too, if you feel that what you're holding is a little bit too heavy, and always have your water. So let's go ahead and get started. So come into the center of your space and let's begin with alignment a little bit. And I'm gonna go wide, call out on the adductors, just to open them up a little bit. Those are the muscles on the inside of your legs that are typically short and tight and too overused. So we're gonna open up the palms and just go a little bit wide here. Inhaling, exhaling, aligning your head over your torso and trying to minimize usage of unnecessary muscles. That could be your jaw, dropping your jaw and dropping your tongue and even dropping your eyelids. And we're gonna do a simple neck turn side to side. And this just lets us know like how we're feeling in this moment, if we're feeling tension, if we're feeling that the brain is racing, if we're not feeling settled in. And I come back to that movement after we do some spinal movements and see if you can sense that something shifted or changed for you. So some neck movements here. We're gonna go ear to same shoulder into what's called the salamander stretch. You might be getting not a lot out of there. You might feel stiffness, that's normal. Again, just loosen the jaw, loosen your tongue, loosen your eyelids, and we'll go side to side here. See if you can drop into it with any sign, deep sighs of breath work. Excellent. Okay, so chin's gonna go down to the chest and back up with as much compression as you are okay with. And the cervical neck. Great. Okay, now manual. So we're going to help the stretch a little bit. So go back to the salamander stretch. That's where the same ear goes to the same shoulder. Great. So if I'm going left to left or you're going right to right, it will be the same arm that comes up. So it's a left to left to left or a right to right to right. This deepens up. I want you to stay wide. I want you to make sure you're not shifting to the side because yes, your lumbar spine can still be affected through this. And then have your head come back up. And same. Opposite side. A little pull. Notice if your rib cage changes or shifts. And then come upright. So to the metister, that's the strongest muscle in our body. That's right in your jaw. I want you to just kind of massage it. Get ready to make some noisy breaths or some ohm sounds. You're on mute, no one can hear you. And we're doing a little bit of vagal toning here. So we're gonna come to the SCM, that's the sternocleidomastoid. That's just your neck muscle. You can feel that big, thick rope of it. Start massaging it, and I want you to go into om or humming, and just do a little bit of toning there. 12 cranial nerves. Big part of it is tone. Think about how you feel when you hear someone's tone. It's not the greatest tone. And think about how you feel when you hear a tone that's very nice. Tonal does a lot for our attitude and our homeostasis and how we're feeling. So we're just doing a lovely little hum to just bring that in. Great. We're going to go behind the head, the bone that pokes out. That's the occipital bone. We're going to go below it. There's two potholes. And then gently massage in a very light way, different than you were doing with your neck muscle. So this is the brain stem, and part of those cranial nerves are also your eyes. So we're actually going to feel the eyes in the back of the head. We're going to feel some movement if you hold very lightly. We're going to do an eyeball stretch. So taking the eyes and putting your fingertips in those potholes very lightly, stretch your eyes, and just know if you can feel anything. Breath comes in, release comes in. And then like any stretch, you don't want to be in a hurry to just drop out of the stretch. So bring your eyes back to the center very gently and just a little bit of horizontal massage. Again, this is some neurofascia release here. Important part of our autonomic systems, the autonomic nervous system, the parasympathetic, the part that begins the rest and digest, as opposed to the fight, flight, freeze, and fawn, right? Less of that, more of the other. Eyeball stretch on the opposite side. Holding lightly, doing some sensory there. Stretching the eyeballs. And then bringing it back to center, and then arms down, and let's turn the neck side to side. And see if something opened up or shift, or if you felt like you settled in a little bit more, just through focusing on the neck, C1, C2. Okay, we're gonna bring in more spine now. So we're gonna go into downward facing dog. I want you to take your time getting there. Some of us have stiff backs or tight hands, so we bend the knees. Walk your way back and start stretching the back of the legs, and understand the shoulders are gonna get in there too. And see if you can hinge down rather than rounding down, hinge down. Slide out a bit, breathe in and out. And just take your time for all that to explore. It's a big posterior, that means behind stretch. You've got your calves, you've got your hands, you've got your lower back, your shoulders all stretching out for you. There's still a little neck work. If you want to turn your head up and turn it around a little bit and find some looseness. Breathe in, breathe out. We're going to go into spinal waves. The best way to describe this is I want you to come up and go into cat a little bit, rounding out the spine, and then see if you can drop in the tabletop. That evens things out a little bit. And if you're okay with going into cow, which creates more of a compression. So the spine goes into a little bit of an S curve there. The neck comes up. Back to tabletop. Finding cat and waving back. So there's just a little bit of a fun art in kind of flowing it all together and having like each piece and each move sort of melt into one another. And again, there's neck movement here. Your neck can go in various planes. It can turn right and left. It can look up, right, and left. Make sure you're breathing in and out. And then I'm going to offer a little bit more for the shoulders. So if you're really liking pushing away from the shoulders because you just don't want to put that much body weight on the chair, that's fine. But I'm actually going to offer a little bit more. As you're coming up to a spinal wave, I want you to rotate your elbows forward. That locks your shoulders out rather than kind of loosey-goosey when we're there. Rotate so you can see the inner part of your elbow rotated forward. That locks your shoulders in, and that makes you able to do something like a scapula push-up without bending my elbows. I'm going to come down and just push myself back up. Locked elbows. So we need that part of our body when we're pushing something. Well, we need to take care about how we're using our rotator cuffs and what muscles we're actually accessing when we're going to push something. And I'm going to go into a little bit deeper. I want a little bit more body weight. That's up to you. You can sample it just a little at a time. That's what's great about it. You don't have to drop all the way to a plank. You can be like, I can drop a little bit, elbows rotated, scapula push-up, and then see if you want more. Elbows don't rotate, spinal waves, neck turning. So we built up to a lot going on here. And just feel it out. Great, let's go ahead, let's walk forward, walk your feet forward. I want you to go with a wide forward fold. So now the feet are gonna come out. Right, we'll go into those adductors there. Maybe a little lower on the chair as you bring your hips out now and you're stretching your back. So one of the best ways to get to that adductor is to be able to bend side to side. So you have this chair here, it can take away 30% of your body weight as you bend, if that feels to be like it's too much for your knee. So I'm getting my body weight away from that as I bend, knee over the second and third toe, and I'm really stretching the other leg, the adductor and the inside there. And then I can push up and get to the other side. So a little trick there, right? If your knee is not complying, take away the body weight, use the chair, stretching the inner adductor. Side to side, so side lunge here, we're gonna see it a little bit later when we do our sets, our circuits. We'll have a band, we'll have weights, we can even have a pillow here. We're gonna incorporate this move. What is the dog doing on the couch? Why didn't anybody say something? Coco, get off the couch, off the couch. You're not allowed on there, right? In a recording.
I was in cahoots with the dog.
You are. Yeah, she just kind of snuck
I
there.
knew she wasn't supposed.
She just kind of got in there. So I hope you're enjoying that stretch and you find a way to make the stretch work for you, because this is a really good stretch for the hips and for the lower back. So that little trick of using the hands on the chair can help you get into it a little bit more. If the mobility is too much, right? Mobility is flexion and strength. Come into the chair, get your legs wide, and just deal with that flexion that way, and you get the benefit of the hips. Okay, coming all the way up. Taking your time, how you're gonna work that. Breathe in, breathe out. Grab your water if you need it. And then we're gonna just do a little bit more hip work, and then we'll go into the shoulders a little bit more, since the focus is for the shoulders. So I'm gonna turn my chair around. There's some balance going on here, and I wanna see what each hip, and I want you to see what each hip can do in terms of mobility. So feel yourself anchor in over to one side. This really brings in the fielding grace, balance, how we're holding ourselves up on one side. And let's go with some circular movements into that hip with a bent knee. And try and bring the knee up and away, as it has a way of opening the body up more rather than having the body kind of cave forward when it goes the other direction. And then I want you to just transfer to the other side, because like if somebody's knee is bothering them, something like that, I want us to just take it easy. So going over to the other side, using the chair lightly, bringing the knee up and going into a rotation. Make sure your toes are not gripping the floor, you're spreading your foot out. That's a good sign that you have your weight aligned over as best to your ability. Usually gripping the toes, something's a little bit off. It can be even just your head pushing over your torso a little bit more. Good, we'll switch to the opposite side and let's just push out. Get that alignment going. See if you can try a little bit without the chair, just to see if you have your alignment in your body in the right place. Just want to do a little hip, a little adductor work here. Just do some good exercises with that. Anchor over to the other side, same thing. Lift up. Very good. That prepares us and makes us a little bit more ready to come into the chair. Hang on for a second, let the dog out. So go ahead and get into the chair. We've got 3 great exercises to do. So we're gonna start with knee up to the chest. These are also good ones you can do when you wake up in the morning if you feel your back is stiff. It's gonna address all those areas. So we're gonna go same knee to same armpit. Now, if I have a stiff back, and my back's actually kind of stiff today, I'm really not gonna go that far. And I'm definitely not gonna bend forward to kind of make that stretch. I'm just gonna accept like, there's the range right there. Okay, there's the first stretch for the lumbar, for the lower back. Extend your leg out to the point of like a little shaking, and then the ankle goes forward and back. So we go into a little nerve flossing. So that's our second exercise there. This is all good back pain, sciatic nerve, SI joint work. I'm gonna take that leg, I'm gonna put it over my other knee and just ease into the stretch. This is typically the hardest one as you settle into the chair and you open that hip up. So if you're on your bed doing this, it's exact same position with your other knee up. You can always even string your legs through. Just legs are up off the floor when you're doing this. Breathe in, breathe out. Some stretches take a longer time to achieve release and to extend the elasticity. And they're going to switch to the other side. Just 3 easy stretches to help with back pain. Knee comes up to the same armpit. Just note how your lumbar is feeling. Extend your knee out, begin our nerve flossing. And then carefully put that ankle over the top knee. Continue to hold your body up and breathe in and out. Feel this release, feel yourself, your body settle in the chair rather than just one side. Notice if the knee is okay coming down. If it's coming down just millimeters, you feel it dropping a little bit more. Excellent. We're going to go wide. So here's that stretch again. If it was bothering you standing up when we were doing that kind of side lunge, you're able to do it in the chair and you're able to find warrior poses just a little bit. So, I mean, this is just good practice. If you've been sitting in the chair, have to sit in the chair for a while today. It's like, why not sit a little bit wide leg? And why not open the legs up a little bit to warrior? Good for the adductors, good for the hips. Okay, great. So I'm going to be a little more thorough with the shoulders. Now I'm going to come down in front of the camera. You do not have to kneel, and you do not need equipment. I'm just coming a little bit closer. We're on the ball and socket joints, right? Just finished up the hip one, going into the shoulders. Ball and socket in the shoulder is going to have more mobility than the leg because of the scapula, right? Because of how the shoulder girdle works together. So we'll start with some circles and see what we have there. Drawing large circles. Have them come up and back because it opens your chest up more. And just see where you're at with that mobility. And then you can stay with 2. Some people like that symmetrical feeling. And if you go with 1, notice that your torso is going to start rotating into the transverse plane because, again, with the way the shoulder girdle hopefully works with ball and socket is you have this tremendous range and it starts to affect other parts of your body. Five or 6 movements will do it. You're going to go to the opposite side and you should experience the same thing, a bit of rotation. And remember, this is on one where you could stand wide. Or as we work on that sumo squat, address the adductors. So if you're standing up, go ahead, stand wide. But if you're like thinking more of your SI joint, you might even want to put in a yoga block and squeeze. Depends on what your needs are. Okay, arms up. So feel the squeeze between your blades and see if you need any pelvic adjustment when you feel that squeeze. If you feel like there's too much contracting going on posterior, you can adjust your pelvis. Feel the squeeze and then come in and out. And then same thing, we want to do one arm and we want to see, is there a deeper range? And is there some rotation involved in the core when you're doing a larger range on that, right? So you feel some transverse turning and you can kind of control the turn. Opposite side. That's when things kind of get tricky, when arms start crossing midline. One more here. We start out with it being very even, very symmetrical. And just feel that rotation there and the shoulders coming in, coming out. Should feel that squeeze in the blades, and then we take it to a single arm, and that's where it gets a little bit trickier. Pushing out for that range, keeping the elbow close to the side. Right, we can feel the core there, we can feel the lower back based on that move. Switch opposite side. And then a typical just push-pull movement, right? So a good push and a good pull. Trying to keep the elbows close to the body, right? Kind of locking into the deltoids rather than using your rotator cuff, which are just stabilizing muscles. They're thin muscles. They're just meant to hold your kind of body in place. We want to access more biceps and shoulders when we're pushing. So let's just practice a push, grab, and a pull, and a squeeze in. Push, proper push, and a proper pull. Adjust your pelvis because you're feeling a lot of back contraction, a lot of muscles there. So instead of feeling that C curve, right, you might want to bring that up a little bit and squeeze your glutes and get your glutes involved in there in any push-pull you might be doing. Okay, single arm, right? You're going to feel the rotation because the range is going to increase a little bit. So as you extend out to what that shoulder has, the blade working back and the blade working forward, the body begins to rotate a bit. Okay, opposite side. And that's kind of the theme that we have when we go into the circuits very shortly, is we are bringing in a revolve in some of these moves. You know, these moves, they require strength, they require balance, they require shoulder work. And today, that top of the progression on these moves will involve a rotation. So we're going to be careful about that. Excellent. Rotate the thumbs, wiggle the fingers. At any point as we're using the band, if you feel irritated, you've been grabbing for a long time, take a break from the band, try just one set without the band. Make sure that you're feeling good. Okay, we are going into our circuits now. Grab some water really quick. For our first circuit, I'm going to pull back. I'm going to go into balance and strengthening, just to kind of get our mindset in on how important it is. That's how we're holding our body when we start to get lost in using the band and all the progressions that come with this, that we can't forget how important our balance and strength is for our lower body. So we're going to start with a quad stretch. You get out of your chair nearby. This requires balance. Going over to one side, being able to lift your leg and bring it back. Perhaps grab, though it's not necessary, and see if you can do that deep stretch with the strengthening and the balance. Spread the foot out, the toes. And then how you come down into it is part of the stretch. I want you to be able to hold it and be able to shift and find ease of alignment right away. Never losing that alignment, never losing that sense of balancing something on your head. So opposite leg. Try not to contort your body. If you can't grab, that's okay. I'd rather see you not grab than kind of contort your body and then force it back. Breathe in, breathe out. It's good to have that chair there just to help with your sense of balance. How you come out of it is really important, but you're controlling it the same way you controlled it on the way up. 3 of these. Here's our second one. Over to the balance, right? You see the theme continue. You're going to bring that leg behind and being very careful. You're going to round out the foot and put a little bit of body weight into it. We want to stretch the outside of the leg now. all the way up the IT band. We can get the intercostals in here too. You're willing to reach your arm up and lean over. That front leg is still really our supported leg. It's maintaining most of our body weight and balance. And we're just putting a little bit of pressure into that foot behind. How you come out of it is very important. Before you can come out of it, know what's happening. You're stretching one side of the spine, the other is compression. So how do you want to work the spine when you come out of it and arrange that spine and then come and get your foot? Breathe in and out. This really just drops into a lot of focus that you can use throughout the rest of this workout and the circuits we're going to do. Note the spine, right? What it's going through right now, and take care of it. Come over, we've got one more here. So again, I'm gonna have to anchor over, balance on one side. I'm gonna bend my knee a little bit. This is very difficult. This gets into what's sort of getting into what's called a pistol squat. And I'm going to kickstand my other leg out and stretch the back, right? Started with the front, we went on the sides, we're now stretching the back of the leg. We really need that leg in front and make sure that knee is over the second and third toe. We would come out of it with ease. I would step forward. I would go into a little bit of a Tai Chi there. Take good care, and then opposite side, balancing. Bending that knee incredibly hard. Spread your toe out, spread your feet out. Getting your knee over your second and third toe. Stretching. And then kind of Tai Chi, step into it a little bit. Make sure you're safe with that. Great. Let's go ahead and grab the band. And we're going to start with a little bit of symmetrical pulling, and then we'll go into asymmetricals and different anchoring. That can be hard for the body, but it certainly is like functional at times where you need to grab something with one hand and maybe hold with another as you're doing that. So that's what we're going to mimic. So let's go with something that's very, very even. Again, you can go wide. Call that out today. Like if you want more adductor stretching, go wide as much as you can today. Have the band out in front and a nice even pull coming back. We do a little bit of back fly. Great move with the band. That center of the back between the blades, that is typically a long and loose area. It's overstretched because we typically slump. I know I'm guilty of it. You go into a contraction hold there. So just hold that back there. Strong elbows, right? So watch out for the loosey elbows push. If it's too much, just take a little bit of the band off, holding that. Noticing where the contractions are happening, right? The tightening of the muscles. And then ease off of that. Great job. Okay, so some asymmetrical now. I'm gonna come down again. You don't have to, I'm just getting closer to you. We can go to some asymmetrical actions, right? So choose one hand that's going to be your anchor, and I want you strong anchor, strong wrist. So watch out for the loose stuff. Strong anchor, strong wrist, and it stays up there. Grab the band with your other hand and pull down to the side. So it's a little unstable. It's definitely asymmetrical. It's a little off. And we want that. That can help with strengthening. I'm going to come in front a little bit. I'm kind of going to change where I'm pulling. I might even come back a little bit, but my anchor is strong. You can be standing wide. You can be squeezing with the yoga block. Lots of options here. And I'm going to go into a contraction hold. I'm just going to hold that like you would have to hold, like, oh, I got an object that has to be held up there. And then I'm going to go into a rotation. So this could be a pivot for some people who don't want the spine to rotate, but I'm going to have the spine rotate. because I typically find myself in these kinds of positions where I'm lifting something and I have to turn a bit to keep it up there. And then you can turn the opposite way. Strong elbow, your anchor, super important. And then come back to center and go easy on that, right? Breathe in, breathe out. We're going to anchor to the opposite side. So I offered the rotation. Some of you can do the pivot on that if you don't want the spine to be revolving, or even just sample it just a little bit. So opposite side, anchor, nice strong wrist. Got to hold that box up. Don't let that box fall down. Pulling. The band is great. You can control and add ounces at a time. I'm going to pull in different planes a bit. Keeping the anchor steady. And then I'm going to hold that, much like you're holding a box, and I'm going to add the rotation. Be gentle. Both sides, strong elbow, and come all the way up. So that's what makes this more of a shoulder advanced class, is we're doing that full body thing and throwing in the plane there. One more. Let's just anchor. It's fun to anchor into different places. Once we get the band done on the feet, we're pretty much anchoring down. So we'll try some different areas. So I'm going to anchor out in front. And this works if the overhead isn't working for you. I'm going to grab, holding that anchor, I'm going to pull away. Pull straight across. Asymmetrical action can be hard. You can hold your hips firm if you don't want to do any kind of rotation there. But I'm going to contract, I'm going to hold. Really important, the anchor is strong. I'm going to contract, I'm going to hold. And I'm going to go into a bit of rotation. And just come back up. This is a lot for the lumbar, for the lower spine. Release. Other side, right? From the start, always like anchor is strong and so is core. Pulling. Of course, ankle will be a little bit wobbly, but we want that. That makes it more advanced. That makes it harder. Come back and hold. Strong anchor. And if you have any rotation. And then come back to center. Ooh, yeah. Lots of lower back strengthening here. It's strong shoulders for sure. Okay, so lots of anchoring down. We're going to get into the squat. We're going to get into the lunge. We're going to get into the side lunge. And then you'll see different ways that we can pull this band. So go ahead and put both feet on the band if you're with the band. Remember, if you're using the weights, they work just as good. Same with a pillow. And we're going to squat and curl at the same time. So if that's new to you, and again, this is advanced shoulder class, typically we start by just kind of practicing the squat or Tai Chi knee, Wu Chi knee. If you feel like I don't have the squat in me today, that's okay. Just a little Wu Chi knee. And are isolating the curl. But since this is a little bit more of an advanced class, we're going to see if we can combo them both. This mimics really accurately lifting a box, and there's really no right or ways. You see me mixing it up all the time. I want you to make it super functional. Like, here's the box you have. Here you are putting it down on the table. Or here's the box you have, you're holding it, and you're coming up out of it. It'd be nice to go a little bit wider if the band lets you do that, because you want to address those abductors. Knees over the second and third toe. Good. So that's our move. I've showed you regressions. Regressions are like, hey, Tina, I'm just going to work on the curl, or I'm just gonna work on a little bit of that Wuchi knee. I don't think I have them both today. It's okay. And then we're gonna progress this. So I wanna go into a squat and hold, and I'm gonna go into shoulder shapers. So what that means is I'm just gonna start coming out. I can go asymmetrical, I can go symmetrical. And I'm just gonna use that bicep and the steadiness, hopefully, of my rotator cuff to keep those joints in place. And just work on these moves here. Feel the blades squeezing. Good. We had that with our intermediate, but for our advanced, stay in this position. You have the final progression here. For our advanced, I want you to go into that squat, into that curl, and see if you have any twist. You're coming from your lumbar, and you're coming from your thoracic. You can put that together if you feel more comfortable holding that in a curl, whatever you feel comfortable doing. And another band's in the way a little bit, but you still have got the movement going. Okay, that mimics you having to lift something up and having to turn with that item. All right, ease up for a moment, grab your water if you need it. We go into the lunge, and it's a lot of the same moves, but the lunge is a little bit more challenging than the squat. So take a single leg, go into a staggered stance. We don't have to call it a lunge if you don't want to call it a lunge. We can call it a staggered stance. Make sure that you're not trying to tandem. That's too much for balance, so you've got some width there. And we're going to go into the lunge with the curl, or you're going to back off, and you're just going to try the curl, and not go right into that progression. Now, if the lunge is too much, I want you to just kind of play with what would happen if you shifted your weight forward. How about if you shifted your weight back? I mean, you're really looking at balance and strengthening and where you have it, and even doing a little split squat. That's where I'm really using that front leg and not the back, because maybe your knee can't take on the weight. Use what you have, and look at how functional that is. That's you coming down, lifting something, and coming up with it. I do both sides here, so I want to move into the shoulder shaper. I'll go symmetrical for a moment, and then challenge myself asymmetrical with the lunge. And just make it a little bit unpredictable. Challenge yourself. So we're done with weights again. Don't feel like you have to use the band. Okay, so here's the progression. It's going to be a rotation, a twist. So you're gonna come down, put that band together. I'm gonna rotate. Go into the side where your leg is at first. Choose your stance. Feel that? Gotta use your glutes, right? For sure, gotta be using your glutes. Ooh, yeah. Welcome to balance, welcome to the challenge. And then come up. Ooh, yeah, that's what makes it harder. And that's full body, right? You feel in your hips when we're doing this. Switching other side. Find out where you're at with that. With the curl, with the movement, Tai Chi movement, with the lunge, wherever you think you can get into, with the single leg split squat, because you don't want to bend that, use that back knee too much. Watch the knee. Here's the thing about abductors, keep going. When they're tight, they will swing your knee in, right? And all of a sudden you're not coming over the second and third toe. So you want to watch for that. And we need to go right into the shoulder shapers. So it's an asymmetrical move coming out. As you're in that staggered stance or lunge or whatever you feel comfortable, confident doing. Alignment, knee over the second and third toe. Lots of contracting. That means just lots of muscle holding. And then you're going to go into that rotation. So you're going to bring that up. Turn into the leg that's in front first. Yeah, feeling those shoulders hold that object up. Same with your lower body, your core is involved in there. And then come out of it. Breathe in, breathe out. 2 toughies out of the way. Grab your water. And now we're going to go into that side lunge, which is great for opening up the adductors. So I'm going to anchor only on one side now. And go wide. And practice that curl again, only when you're going asymmetrical with the body. So as I come and lean out, I'm going to curl that up. So we have the same exact moves as we did with the lunge and the squat, just doing it with this side lunge. So from that bicep curl, I'm going to want to go to shoulder shapers. And feel that out. Little off, little asymmetrical, and so is life and the things that we pick up sometimes. And then I'm going to go into a rotation. So let's be really careful with this. I'm coming from the lumbar, and I'm coming from the thoracic. Gentle. Stay in alignment, knee over the second and third toe. And then come all the way up. Even if you're doing this with bullying, you are still part of the plan. You still have it going on. Opposite side. These are very micro, minimal movements as we're working with strengthening the lumbar, right? You think of the Bay Bridge, that's how your lumbar is constructed. Firm pull with lots of cables or muscles coming down on the sides and kind of moving and playing with those muscles. So, opposite side, curl. Get that abductor stretch. Open the hip up or decide just what's going to work for you in this. And I'm going to go to shoulder shapers. Just trying it in different ways. You're in a position with your lower body and your core, and you want to stay there. You're coming from the shoulders. Come up. Be ready to torso twist if you're going to go for that. You can start with staying up and not even bending that leg. And you can add that mobility. Comes farther away from the core, it is harder for your back, it's harder for your core. Yeah, take your time. Great way to strengthen the back, but again, I want you to be really careful with it, and that's why this is an advanced class. Inhale, exhale, a lot more for the upper body now, getting into some areas and some muscles we maybe haven't hit yet. But still important that you remember that great balance and staying stable when we are working with the band. Bent over row. Again, now's a good time to change if the band is bothering you. Go ahead and grab some weights or grab a pillow. It's gonna come down, gonna stay low and just pull that up. Stay isolated in that position. Keep the elbows close to the sides and lift up. Really working the center of the back. Some deltoid work, some bicep. Great for when an object is like square and predictable in terms of weights, but let's cross the band over and let's create an object that isn't really predictable, an object that maybe the weight goes towards the center, kind of like a bag of leaves or like a bag of soil. So we would pick that up a little bit different. We want to keep that object a lot closer to the core and pull it up and go a little bit wider there. Right, we wouldn't know where that weight was going to go. And so we want to keep it close to the core and use our pillar as much as possible, lifting it. Yeah, that's a bag of clothes to the thrift store or something. Great, uncross. And we'll go into that advanced. We'll go into the rotational row. So we're back to the one arm, as we know from doing our warm-up without resistance, that when we do one arm, and if we have this incredible range in the ball and socket with the girdle, that we will experience some rotation in the core. So that's what's going to happen when we do the bent over row with one arm. We're going to experience rotation in the core. Let's stick to one side. Feet down, firmly planted. The rotation is in the lumbar and then the thoracic region, middle of back, lower back. And I want you to contract and hold that. See if there's any muscles that can loosen up and some that can be firm and holding it. Yeah, there's little changes to be made, right? Okay, opposite side, so rotational row. Feet firmly planted. Weight center. And then you're gonna rotate, you're gonna hold. And notice what can come into alignment, what can loosen up more. Breathe in, breathe out. Come out of it. Last one. Breathe in, breathe out. We were doing a front raise to a side raise, and then we'll eventually get a little bit of rotation in there. So you can go both at the same time if you kind of want to keep it pretty symmetrical. You can go asymmetrical, but you're coming out in front. Same sensations, same benefits as if you were doing a plank. Find how you'd like to work this for the next 15 to 20 seconds on a front raise. Being clear about the planes for now. You're coming forward and back. And now we're gonna be clear about coming to the sides. So it's the same thing, you go symmetrical if you feel good about that, or you can try a little asymmetrical action and just see how your core and your shoulders respond to that. If you feel any kind of shifting over, the pillar gets challenged. The body tries to compensate. So if it's not moving here, it goes, well, I'll move over here if you want, right? We're just kind of seeing what we have and where we have it, moving in the correct range. Okay, let's try a little shoulder shake for action. So that's coming out a bit into various planes. You can either make the moves the same or you can go one at a time. And it's moving more from the deltoid and less from the bicep, away from the body. So a little crossover, that's the hardest step there is when you're crossing the midline. You just want to watch out for the lumbar. Shoulder shaper moves. Firm. Excellent, and so we're ending on a rotation. I'm gonna say, when we go to the chair on this one, not because it's easier, but because it creates a little bit of different anchoring and where we're coming from our body. When we're stepping on it, it's clear. We have this nice strong anchor beneath our feet on the band, and out here in front, it becomes a little bit different. There's a little bit more of a core feeling as your legs go loose and you just hook your band over your feet. So we're gonna go into the Ukrainian twist. There is twisting in this. This is necessary. If you're a driver, this is probably pretty much necessary that you are able to have this sort of flexion when you're driving. Go into the neck a bit. And just watch for any kind of shifting, you know, that coming from the hips. So the hips are trying to get into it. This is core and this is shoulder. And so work slowly. You feel other parts of your body trying to come in. We get into what's called the cumulative injury cycle. So if there's something that's wrong with the shoulder and it's not doing what you want it to do in terms of range, then you start coming from a different part of your body and your body doesn't like that. Then that part of your body starts to get hurt. And then your other body starts responding to that other part and so on. Cumulative injury cycle. Excellent. Okay, we've got a couple of moments here to just kind of stretch out the back in a nice way. Did wonderful with the band and the weights, or the weights and the pillow if that's what you took on. So we're gonna go a little bit wider and then stretch the lumbar coming forward. And you can definitely stay in this plane, but since the theme has been more of the advanced, and we're looking at the advanced in terms of able to rotate or get yourself in two planes, see if you can come forward, put one hand down, rotate a bit, strong elbow, and come up on back strength alone. I'm gonna try both sides there. All right, before you check out, let's see, how's the neck doing? Let's go through our turns side to side. And as you do that, I just want you to know, like, are you feeling in a different place than you were before you started or when you first did the neck exercise? If you feel like you settled a little bit more into, you know, who you want to be in this moment, it's crazy how exercise can do that. So thanks for being here, and I hope to see you soon.
Thank you, Tina.